Yo, it's your boy King Jr. We back with another video. I said I was gonna be back Monday, but I said I want to talk about boxing again, so why not start it back early? So when I heard the news that Terence Crawford was going to be fighting David AVANESYAN, first of all, guys, I don't even know who this guy is. As a boxing fan, I'm not looking for this fight for Terence Crawford because I know Terence Crawford is going to either beat him by decision or get him out of there. But Terence Crawford is arguably one of the hardest punchers in the welterweight, and he's knocking everybody out. Knocked out 7 straight 8 opponents, and fighting David AVANESYAN, you know, I'm not surprised. We've been hearing reports from months that Errol Spence is holding up the fight, Terence Crawford's holding up the fight. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this ESPN report reported by Mike Coppicer. You know, I can't believe half of the stuff that come out this dude's mouth. So we're just going to dive in a little bit into this, and I will express my thoughts on the whole situation. Welterweight title holder Terence Crawford and David AVANESYAN have signed the contracts for pay-per-view fight on December 10th at the CHI Health Center in Champion, Omaha, Nebraska, told ESPN on Thursday. So the fight will be on BLK Prime. If you guys don't know what BLK Prime is, it's where it helps out fighters that are very, very unknown to the sport of boxing, and this platform elevates low tier boxers' career. And shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV for actually doing business with these guys to promote these young fighters that will be really very, very talented in the future. So shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV for supporting. And you know, I'm going to support Terence Crawford. I'm not happy with this fight, but I'm going to support him. The fight will be available on BLK Prime for $39.95. A spokesperson for the streaming services told ESPN Crawford, you know, his win record will earn a high 8-figure payday, sources say. So that's good news for Crawford. I'm glad he's getting his money. But as a fan, I'm not happy with the fight. I'm not happy with the results. I already know what's going to happen in the fight. I got Crawford maybe even stopping or knocking out David AVANESYAN. That's if Crawford haven't slowed down in his boxing career. We know Crawford been out the ring for a very, very long time, and he's going to be back towards the end of this year. And I'm wondering to see what Crawford's going to look like. If Crawford looks great, you know, that means that maybe he could have had a chance to been ready and beat ready for Errol Spence. But if he looks like crap, you guys already know I'm going to call the BS out. So let's continue. Crawford remains in talks with Errol Spence Jr. fight for undisputed 147-pound championship. But when it became clear to Crawford that the PBC was now targeting the first quarter of 2023 for that fight, he decided to push forward with the title defense to ensure he, like Spence, fought at least once in 2022, which we all know he stopped. He did his Ugas like I predicted in the 10th round. Spence and Crawford are still motivated to strike a deal, so to say, with both fighters in their primes and peaking at the welterweight summit, meeting strands as one of the biggest commercial fights in the sport. Well, Spence is still in his prime. Crawford is questionable. Crawford is 35 years of age. Crawford has started to slow down dramatically in his career. And the version from Crawford when he was at 140 pounds is way different from the version at 147. Crawford was more versatile. Crawford was more fluid, switching to orthodox southpaw. As you guys noticed in that Shawn Porter fight, Crawford was starting out in the orthodox stance, getting beat on by Shawn Porter in the first couple rounds. Then he decided to switch to southpaw in the whole entire fight. Shout out to BFTB Boxing for a great live yesterday. And he even broke this down himself. He made a comparison with Jaron Ennis and Terence Crawford. Jaron Ennis is a naturally switch hitter, which everybody sees. Terence Crawford only switch hit when he getting his ass beat. And I find that very, very crazy that it is true. So let's continue reading this. I'm excited about this opportunity. Crawford says, I'm really looking forward to fighting Errol Spence. I started communication with boxing manager Al Heyman and the PBC back in June. Unfortunately, they represent a fighter in Errol Spence who didn't want the fight as bad as I did. Now, I'd have to disagree. Errol Spence wanted this fight because apparently, from what I'm hearing for the past few weeks and months, is that Al Heyman really didn't want this fight. Steven Espinoza didn't really want to press for this fight because there was nothing to the table. What did Crawford bring to the table besides that WBO belt? He didn't bring nothing. He does low pay-per-view numbers. What he did, like 150,000, 190,000 with Sean Porter or something like that. Them numbers are very, very low. And even Bob Arum stated that the fight wasn't going to happen anyway. And you know, it's shocking to me that I'm surprised I couldn't get a deal done. And the first thing I said to you guys, the reason why this fight may not happen is because of the money. And from what I've been hearing, it sounds like these guys been having problems with the money. One moment we hear they agreed to terms and conditions. The next thing you know, these guys are just not simply getting the revenue. So if, like I said before, if Errol Spence really wanted to, he could 70-30 Terence Crawford. Because what does Terence Crawford bring to the table? Nothing. He only brings that WBO belt. Errol Spence is bringing in all the attracting crowds and everything. He's just a bigger name. He's been built the right way. Now, if Terence Crawford would have signed with the PBC, that would have been a different story. We would not know how big Terence Crawford's career would have been if he would have signed with the PBC. But he chose to goes down that ring with Top Rank. So let's continue. I agreed to all their BS, and they have been dragging their asses for months. Spence was nowhere to be found while I was trying to make the deal. Crawford continued. I explained to Al Heyman and Errol that I was going to fight before the end of the year. David Avanesian is a very tough task. He knocked out his last 6 opponents, and this guy is dangerous. Once I am successful against Avanesian, my plan still is to whoop Errol Spence's ass. Well, first of all, didn't you say that you wanted to fight Errol Spence and then Jermell Charlo? So how are you going to fight Errol Spence, but you refuse to try to negotiate and take what's there to get the fight? And the reason why Al Heyman doesn't want Terence Crawford is because he doesn't see no potential there for that fight. He doesn't see no revenue. He probably doesn't even believe that he will get nothing on the back end for this fight. That's why Al Heyman and Steven Espinoza was very particular about this fight. And that's just my opinion. I think they didn't want to make this fight, and they wasn't too crazy for it, because they're like, you got to be real with these numbers. You got to be realistic with the amount you're going to get and stuff like that. I'm not big on good at the numbers, but in percentages, 70-30 for the fight. If Terence Crawford really wanted this fight bad, he could have took that 60-40 split. He could have took that 70-30 split. But Terence Crawford want to get paid because he doesn't have a lot of time left in his career. And even though they say you're going to get paid 8 figures against David Avanesian, that's not the fight we want to see. And so I'm hoping you Crawford fans are happy with this fight with David Avanesian. No slight to David Avanesian, but I really don't know who this guy is. But he knocked out his last 6 opponents. Crawford says he's a tough opponent. I see Crawford getting about maybe 8 to 10 rounds. It shouldn't be long. But if Crawford struggled with David Avanesian, this to show you that he's not ready for Errol Spence Jr. So if Crawford shows signs of slowing down or anything like that in this fight coming up, December 10th, that ought to tell you that he's not ready for Errol Spence. Which I think Terence Crawford's not going to disappoint a lot of people in this fight. But this is a fight that I didn't want to see because I know how the outcome is going to be. So let's continue. ESPN #1 pound for pound boxer Crawford accuses to the short end of the final split for the clash with Spence, who aligned with Al Heyman PBC major terms are agreed, but Crawford, promotional free agent, wants transparency relate to event expenses since the contract contained no guaranteed purse. Sources say rather Crawford will earn a percentages of the net revenue, so he requested the ability to approve expenses as a partner in the event. With the sides unable to solve the lingering issue in a timely fashion, Crawford decided to seek a different opponent rather than wait for the PBC on the fight. February or March, sources say that proposed Showtime pay-per-view was targeted November 19th, but extended talks due to unfeasible, with approximately 60 days needed to properly promote the event and set up training camps. PBC declined to comment on the failed Spence and Crawford negotiations and stuff like that. And you know, it just went from down here. Then you had Floyd Mayweather talking about that the fight's not gonna happen till I say it happens. So what's really strange about this, how does Floyd Mayweather tie into this fight? That what really shocked me. I don't know how in the world he tied into this in some weird fashion. And Floyd was saying something weird like, the fight's not gonna happen unless I say so. So what? Does Floyd really have that much power over these fighters? It makes you wonder. But I just want to touch on this subject. But here is some more news for you guys to look at. Let's see if it's still on this page. I hope it's up. Hey, I can't find it. But Errol Spence, it was a thing with Errol Spence says he's going to be looking to go up to 54. So let me type this in real quick. Errol Spence Jr. Alright, there we go. Boxing news. So Errol Spence Jr. says I might be moving up to 154 pounds. And Errol Spence is kind of shaking his head in disappointment because he already know who David Avanesian is and stuff like that. And if I was Errol Spence, I would move up to 54 because there's no point of waiting on Terence Crawford at this point. And Errol Spence got mandatories to defend. And the question is, Errol Spence is going to be out the ring for a year as well. So who is Errol Spence is going to be looking to fight at the end of the year? And a lot of people wants to see Errol Spence fight Jaron Boots Ennis. I don't want that fight for Errol Spence Jr. Not to say Errol Spence Jr. can't beat Jaron Ennis. It's the fact that that fight is there. They can make the fight. They both sign on the same network, but it's just not a big enough fight yet. But I would like to see Terence Crawford fight Jaron Ennis, in my opinion. If you Crawford fans arguably say that he's one of the best switch hitters to ever do it, we'll put him in there, Jaron Ennis, to see how he'll do. Because I think he'll be out the ring faster than people think. If Errol Spence get in the ring with Jaron Ennis, that's going to be a tough fight for both guys. If Terence Crawford get in the ring with Jaron Ennis, it's going to be a one-sided fight and an embarrassment. That's just my opinion. You guys might have a different opinion on this, but I call it down the middle. Crawford is slowing down. He's not the same guy from when he was at 140 or 135 to 147. Like I said before, great little man beat great big man. And let's say Crawford does be successful against Errol Spence Jr. I think he gets obliterated by Jermell Charlo. That's just my opinion. Jermell Charlo's just too big, too strong, have a lot of boxing ability, have a lot of grip, have a lot of toughness, and have a damn chin. And he's got a lot of all the intangibles. But back to this subject, I'm getting off topic here. Errol Spence Jr. might be looking to move up to 54. I'm not surprised. Just go ahead and move up. And he could be potentially fighting opponents like Brian Castano, who gave Jermell Charlo 2 tough-ass fights. And even though Jermell Charlo got him back, and Erickson Lubin, who disappointed a lot of people losing to Sebastian Fundora and stuff like that. So let's see what they say here. Brian Weber, Errol Spence says that he's thinking of moving to 154 pounds after learning Terence Crawford choose to fight David Avanesian on December 10th. So I think that's it right there. So what do you guys think about it? Do you think it's a smart move for Errol Spence Jr. to move up to 154? And are you guys excited about Terence Crawford fighting David Avanesian? We all want to see Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford, which I have Errol Spence Jr. stopping Terence Crawford by the 11th round or 10th round. But like I said before, we're really going to see how Terence Crawford's going to look in this David Avanesian fight. I will be trying to keep you guys updated on who's Errol Spence Jr. next opponent is. And hopefully we can see Errol Spence Jr. potentially fight Terence Crawford. The fight is made, or they can get a deal done. But if they don't get this fight done by next year, or whatever the case may be, this would be one of the biggest letdowns in the sport of boxing. And these guys are both going to regret it for the rest of their lives. But if the fight doesn't get made, I wish these guys nothing but the best in their careers. And at the end of the day, it is what it is in the way. So I believe that's it, guys. I believe that's all I got for you. I believe I will be coming back with some more boxing news for y'all. So make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button on your way out. And shout out to Boss Hog KPO for always keeping it real about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. If you guys haven't subscribed to Boss Hog KPO, please go subscribe to Boss Hog KPO. He has a very good boxing channel over there. Please go support that brother. He's going to be potential, in my opinion, potential future world champion in the sport of boxing. So with that being said, guys, it is what it is, the end of the day. So make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is your boy King Jr. We will be back with some more boxing news. So I am out of here. Peace.